NoSQL, non-SQL, and here all JavaScript based commands are used actually. So in MongoDB, how to handle the queries, I will tell you a simple point. Because while interacting with the database, we need them. I will give you one simple point. So MongoDB queries. MongoDB queries, simple queries, how to use them, how do we work with them, I will simple give. One is reading. So for that we have a find. For reading we have an option called find. So actually find uses a query. It uses a query. So find is a command, it uses a query. That means actually we have to use a command called syntactically DB. DB is database. In database, collection name is table name. And we have to use find. Find, suppose I given an empty query. It is nothing but, so this is equal to select star from table. It is equal to select star from table, right? That means in general SQL, we write this query to read all records. Similarly, here we use an empty query. Suppose I want all the record, any specific record based on some ID. So collection, we use find, and here we write the query in a JavaScript query format. That means ID is 1. That's how we define. That means it will return only the record whose ID is matching with 1, like that. So that is queries actually. This is MongoDB queries. MongoDB queries. All JavaScript data types are used here. String, number, boolean, object, array, everything JavaScript based data type only. You can have conditions like you can write $GT. So this GT is nothing but this GT defines greater than. So we have like $LT. LT is for less than. So we have less than. Like this we have to use. So we have like $GTE. GT is greater than or equal. We have like $LTE less than or equal. We have like $NE. NE is not equal. And equal is directly defined like this. This is equal. These are all such queries generally we use in MongoDB, right? I will not go in depth about this, just overview I will give, because when we are writing some server side API, we need to write these queries to connect with the database, get the data. We need these queries. So let's see this example. I will show you MongoDB Compass. I asked you to do this. I hope you installed. So if you have this MongoDB Compass on your PC, so now you can try that here. Connect. And here we created a database. And the database we created was ReactDB. In that we created a table called TBL users. This is a table TBL users. It contains some information. So generally how we can find and filter and manage the data is, for querying actually we use these options like this. For suppose Here only one record is there. Temporarily I will add one more record, one more table, or I will copy those fake store data here. So let's create a collection called TBL products. Okay, TBL products and create collection. And I will add some records into this. I already have some JSON data. I will import file, select file. In my computer, I already have some JSON data. I will use that JSON data, some products related JSON. Suppose I have, some JSON files are present. You can see some products JSON file is there. I will use it directly, some files. Yeah. I hope I have this. Let me copy this. Fake store slash products is there. I will copy all this data and save this in a JSON form. I will save this on desktop as products.json. Okay. And then you can easily import this here on desktop products.json. Okay. And import, it will import all 20 documents. You see all the 20 documents are there. All the products data I am locally storing. So see now, here we have the find query filter. What we do is generally we write the query like this, and the query is suppose category. Category is what? Suppose I am giving electronics and click on find. That means it will get only electronics products. You can get only that. Queries are written like this. Suppose I want all the products whose price is above 600. Then I have to write query like this. Field is price. So price, and here we write the query. Again, we need to write the query. The query is $GT greater than how much? Some 600. I have to write the query like this. So price is greater than 600. I will click on find. So it uses what is it? Again, here I need to put an expression greater than 600. That is the expression how we need to define. Right. Dollar. What is the field? Right. Field name is price. Yeah. Another one is $GT. GT. How much value? I need to get that right. So here any price is there greater than 600, LT less than, it is using here price is in small letters. Yeah, it will get all the records which are greater than 600, less than 600. Here I am using GT. GT is greater than. So greater than 600, what are this? It will display. These are queries, how we can write the queries. That means greater than, less than, all these are the queries. And all JavaScript data types are same. JavaScript data types are the same. You have to just define the field name and configure that. I will upload one MongoDB document. If you want, you can refer this with all the queries, different queries, how they use. But our concentration is not this. So I will just give few points, right? For you reading, this is the query. We have to use find. Similarly, for inserting, we have to use the query. We have insert one and we have insert many. So this is insert many. These two methods are used for inserting a record. That means generally what we do, db.collection.insert. We have to insert one, that is one object. Here you will have field and value. You can configure multiple, right? So that is, if you want multiple records, db.collection. This is actually insert one. Okay, this is insert one. We can use insert many, and we have to write an array of objects. That is insert many. If you want, you can insert many. At a time, to insert many, you need an array, one insert object. This is insert command, how we can insert. Similarly, in MongoDB, update commands, we have update one, and we have update many. We also have this option. Syntactically, what we do is db.collection. We have to use update one, and here we need to define find query, and we have to define update query. We have to use update query. Two options are there. And for updating, we have operators called set. We have operators called rename. Rename is an operator for changing the field names. We have unset. These are all operators actually. That means if I want to update a record, suppose db collection, and we are using update one, and the find query is find where id is 2, and what we have to do here, we have to use $set. Set what to set? Set price how much? So set price as 400, like this. We can, this is update query. That means it will find the record with id 2, and it will set its price as 400. You can set all details, name, price, multiple details you can define. This is how generally we update the records. One or many we have to define. So here what we do is, suppose I am finding here, so id is 1, id is 2, find the second record comes here. Now for the second record, price is 22, I want to set 25. Then what we have to do here, we need, actually this is general only for finding, right? You can see at the bottom you have Mongosh. That is actually Mongo shell. Shell is used for commands. You can see this is shell. Here in this shell, we write the commands. So first use database name. Which database? React DB. So we have to execute. So that means it is currently using. That means it switched. That means it is using React DB. After using React DB, now actually commands we have like show collections. That means it will show the tables. We have two tables, TBL products, TBL users. Suppose I want to display here DB dot collection name TBL products dot find what query, id is 2, like this. It will return the second record and show. You can use there also. Here we can write the commands in this way. Suppose here I am using db.tbl products dot update. Update what? One. Find query is id is two, and here we have to use dollar set. Dollar set. What to set? So price. We have to set price as some 25. That is how we have to define. It says matched count one, modified one. That means it is modified. Here, once you refresh the second record price is set to 25. So update queries are defined in this way. Update queries. So delete query. So we just use delete one, and we use delete many. Delete many. Syntax is same. db dot collection name dot delete one. Here we have to use find query. We have to use find query. That means it will find the matching record and delete. That means how do we define db dot collection dot delete one, and here we can define where id is 2. That is how we can delete. These are all general queries, how you configure the queries. That CRUD operations are very important. That means when you are working with any database, you should know how to read, insert, update, and delete. Here everything JavaScript based commands. You have to just use these simple methods for handling. These are very much required for designing APIs for various interactions. We need them. That is the reason. So initially we have the database ready, and we know the commands for reading, inserting, updating, and deleting. Okay. Now next step, once the database is ready, now we need to design API. Design server side API. For that, to design server side API, we will use Node.js and we will Express. By using Node.js and Express, we will create a server side API. Node.js, Express are individually separate. We will not discuss all Node.js and Express, just we will see how to create an API. So first step, what we have to do is, so Node.js and Express, already you installed Node.js. Already you have Node.js. So what is advantage for us is Node.js and Express both are JavaScript based. So it will be very easy for handling, right? So now first step, what we will do is open our project, and this is our project, that is React Shopping. This is our project. This is workspace, actually our workspace. Now what we will do is, in this project only, this is the project workspace, right? What we will do is, in this we will add a folder. We will add a folder and we will name it as server. We will keep all the server side logic in this folder. Whatever server side logic, we will keep everything inside that folder, server folder, right? Let's see. So how we can handle that? Let's first install whatever libraries are required. First step, so to configure API requests server side, you need following libraries. What are the libraries? npm install. You install Express first. You need a library Express. Node.js, already it is there. You installed already Node.js, and Node.js by default allows you to configure server side programs. So install Express. Okay, next you have to install install MongoDB. So this is actually middleware framework. This is middleware framework. MongoDB is nothing but database drivers. MongoDB is already installed. Here you are installing the database drivers. What is the role of database drivers? The role of database drivers is to connect with various databases from your application. That means drivers are used for connecting with application. That means clients and application. The main server drivers are used for connecting with server. So actually we call drivers stubs. Technical terms are there. Suppose you see uh, some options, like suppose we are having, so this is the main. So this is suppose the main, right? The main. And here we have sub programs. So we have sub programs. These are the sub programs. That means now what happens is main program is already constructed, built, and sub programs are under construction. Still they are incomplete. Now I have to test the main program. If I have to test the main program, this main is connected with these two sub programs, but sub programs are incomplete, then testing will fail. Why it will fail? Because it is still incomplete. So generally this subprogram 1, subprogram 2 are there. So now subprogram 1 is under construction, 2 is completed. Then what we do is generally we terminate this subprogram. We terminate that subprogram by using stubs. We call them stubs. By using stubs, we terminate the subprogram, and we will test only the main and sub 2. And whenever sub 1 is ready, we will remove the stubs, and main will connect with stub 1 also. Then we will do test. This is done in unit testing. Actually, unit testing means each and every function is tested individually. But if it is linked with another function and that function is incomplete, how you will test? So for that we use a mechanism of stubs. Sometimes what happens is subprograms are ready, main is under construction. That depends on priority, right? Sometimes subprograms is ready, main is under construction. Then usually what we do is, so subprograms usually to communicate with main, we use drivers. By using a driver, what we do is we terminate the main program and we test the subprograms separately. And once the sub main is ready, then we remove the drivers and we will connect with the main. So drivers are responsible for connection. Drivers are responsible for connection. That means they will connect with the sub programs and the main programs. So if your application connect with any database in the backend, you need drivers. And Oracle have separate drivers, MySQL have separate drivers, MongoDB have separate drivers. Every technology drivers are different. Backend database drivers are different. So MongoDB drivers we are installing. These drivers will allow our application to connect with MongoDB. What is the role of Express? Express is a middleware. What is the role of a middleware in any software technology? What is the role of middleware? The role of middleware. What is the role of middleware? in any technologies, what is the role of middleware? So many, actually, middleware is a software framework. It is a software framework. The responsibility of middleware software framework to handle communication between the application and the database. That means it is responsible for communication between client, server, and database. The communication is managed by middleware. Middleware handles the request, it will process the request, generates a response, sends the response. Middleware will do several other things. It is responsible for accessing the data, converting into understandable format of server, and converting the server data into client understandable format. We call this as parsing. So middleware will do lot of things. It can handle parsing, it can serve static files, it can handle connection between client and database. All these things are done by middleware. And we need one more, that is we need another library called npm install CORS. We need CORS library. CORS is cross origin resource sharing. Generally, CORS issues are very common. Why CORS issues will come? Because currently when you are designing, practicing, your server will be running on same port, one port number. Your database is running on another port number. Your client application is running on another port number, but server is same. On one server at different port numbers, different applications are running. Right? Actually, what happens is generally we are using MongoDB. MongoDB database is running on 127.0.0.1 and it is on port number 27017. So React is our front-end application. It is running on 127.0.0.1. It is running on 3000 port number. Localhost 3000, that localhost is 127.0.2. Now you are creating server with Node.js. This will run on same 127.0.0.1 port number, your wish. You can keep any different port number you can define. Then what happens is on a single server, when applications are running on different port numbers, data sharing across origin of same server will be blocked. That means now your React application may block the data coming from MongoDB. It may block the request. That means across origin, data sharing may be blocked. So this you can control. By using CORS. CORS allows, remember, CORS allows to handle all requests. You can design in such a way that it can handle only specific requests. That means you designed an API. That API should not accept post and put and delete. It should accept only get. You can design like that. You can design another, like it can accept only post. It will not accept others. We can design and control the APIs by using what? CORS. Request methods and their restrictions you can configure by using CORS. Actually, in old versions, we need another library called body parser, but now we don't need that because Express itself is having body parser. Earlier, that means when you are looking at end-to-end examples posted on several websites few years back, you will see that people using a separate library called body parser. That is because body parser is compulsory we need for translating the data coming from form into JSON. But now Express internally have a body parser. You don't need a separate body parser. You can just use Express body parsers for translating the data into JSON. When data comes from a form, we need to convert the data into JSON. For that, we need this. Okay. So this is general libraries required for configuring. So we will see here. We will install all of them in our project. So in our React library, means in our project, we will install all of them. npm install what? Express, save. We are downloading and installing Express library. Okay. npm install another one, MongoDB, MongoDB drivers. We will save. Okay. Okay. Next, npm install course. So we are downloading and installing all the 3 libraries required. Okay, fine. After doing that, now we need to create a server-side API. This API must communicate with the database, get the data and return to client, right? Then generally Node.js server-side programs, Node.js, here Node is simple. Node.js server-side programs are written in JavaScript file. So that means the program will be .js. And generally Node.js programs are compiled by using V8 compiler. They are compiled by using V8 is a Google Chrome compiler. Node.js uses that compiler. So that means you have to just run the command like this, node program.js. It will compile and run the program. So we have to write the Node.js programs. We have to configure the Node.js programs. So Node.js server-side programs are written in a JavaScript file, and we have to compile by using the node compiler. That is basic point. So first we will create a Node.js program. Create a new Node.js program. That means we are writing a server-side program. Let's do that. In server folder, I will add a new file. This is api.js. You can give any name, api.js. Okay. Now here we have to write the server-side logic. For that, first we need to import the libraries. Here different, actually, module systems, different module systems are there. I told you in the beginning, React uses various module systems, CommonJS, RequireJS, UMD, AMD. You remember we used UMD, Universal Module Distribution. Depending on which module system, we have to import and use the library. Now, to import Node.js uses a RequireJS library. That means where we have to declare a reference, express is equal to require. Require which library? You have to import the library. We need express library, that is express. That means now we are importing this express library and all the members of this are accessible by using with this reference. Similarly, we need another library, course. What is it? Require course. We have to use require course. Okay, next we need another library, MongoDB client. Actually, MongoDB drivers library. But MongoDB have server library, client library. 2 are there. Server library is required for creating database, deleting database, managing database. Client library is required for creating tables, reading tables, inserting, updating tables. So what we have to do is we have to declare Mongo client require DB. So we have to import MongoDB, but not everything in MongoDB. From MongoDB, we want Mongo client only. Mongo client class. We have to import this. That means we are importing Mongo client class. It provides all the methods which are responsible for connecting with MongoDB. So we have to import Express, CORS, and Mongo client. Now, next point is we have to configure a connection string. A connection string is required to connect with database, and MongoDB connection string is MongoDB :127.0.0.1:27017. That is the MongoDB connection string. Different database connection strings are different. I already showed you a website, connectionstrings.com, right? You can get the list of various connection strings related to different databases. When you are learning a server-side technology, that technology will teach you various connection strings for different database. So this is the connection string for MongoDB. Okay, next. Now what we have to do is we have to create an app. This is API actually. We are creating a server-side application. And this server-side application will be managed by Express. Express is the middleware. That means this app is responsible for handling communication from the client and the database. The communication between client and database will be managed by app. Will be managed by middleware. Now, how it will manage? From client, it will expect a request. So what are the requests from the client? App.get get request. And what is the get request name? How we are expecting the request from the client? He will request /get users. Get users is the request. On this request, what we have to do? We have to use a callback function. This callback function will use two objects, server side, two objects. One is request object, another one response. We have a request and response object. And very important, what is the means any server side technology, every server side technology works with few objects. Learning server side technology is all about objects, handling objects. Request object, response object, session object, cookie object, application object. So server side technology is all about objects. What is the responsibility of request object? The responsibility of request object is to fetch information from client. That means from client, it can fetch information. What kind of information it can fetch? What kind of information it can fetch? A request object can fetch so many types of details. Like a request object, usually you should know that generally in server side technologies, usually entire communication managed by request and response. Request object can request query string. It can request cookies. It can request form data, form body. That means a request object can request information coming from client in the form of query string. How data comes from client? From client, the data comes to server in the form of a query string, in the form of cookies, or in the form of form data. That means request object is responsible for requesting query string, requesting cookies, requesting form body. Response object is going to send response to client. What kind of response. Response can be HTML, response can be JSON, response can be XML, response can be file. It can send all these as response. An XML response, JSON response, HTML response, file response. In this file, it can be a static file, it can be a cookie file, right? Any type of file can be sent as a response. This is technically the purpose of two different objects. So in every server side configuration, we have two major objects, request and response. So when you configure here a method, this is handled with two options, request and response. Now get is used for fetching. Right now, what this have to do? This get users must connect with the database, get all the information and send to client. This is the work it have to do. That means see what I'm doing here. How to connect with the database? Who will connect with the database? Whenever user makes this request, it should connect with the database, get the data and return. Then who will connect with the database? Mongo client. That means we have to use Mongo client dot connect. Connect with connection string. We are defining the connection string. After connecting, it uses a callback function. This function will return error and it will return client object. Understood? And what are these two objects? It will connect with this connection string. If there is a problem in the connection, it will return error. If there is no problem, it will return a client object. What this client object can do? It can connect with specific database and it will interact with specific table. That means after connecting with MongoDB server, in order to access any database, we need this object, client object. So here we will write if there is no error. That means if there is no error, then by using this client object, you can access a database. By using the client object DB method, you can access a database. Which database? React DB. You can access the database. That means so many databases will be there. Which database to access? This will load this database into memory. Then how to interact with the database in memory? For that, we need to create a reference. Understood? That means it will load this database into memory and we can interact with the database in the memory by using which object? Database. Now what this database object can do? It can read the data present in the tables of that particular database. How? Database object can access the collection. Which collection? Collection name is TBL users. We created a collection called TBL users. Am I right? So here you can see in the database TBL users. Now I want this one, right? So that means TBL users. How to read all the details from TBL users? We have to just use a find. And find empty query indicates all records. That means it is going to read all the records. If you want, you can return any specific record. You can write the query here. Suppose here, this is going to return. But very important is find command reads all the records. It will read all the records. These records need to be converted into an array. And we need to send that array to the client. So for that, we have a method called toArray. What toArray? It is an iterator. ToArray is an iterator. So what find is doing? It is returning all records. Then all those records we have to read one by one. And we have to send to client. For that, we need a iterator. That iterator is toArray. What toArray will do? It will use a callback function. So in that callback function toArray, it will have an error and it will have documents. Understood? It will have documents. That means if there is no error, what it will do? It will send all these documents to the client. That means who will send these documents to client? Response object. That means this response object, response dot what? Send what? All the documents, whatever documents we done. So this is how generally Node.js communicates with the database. So we just created one API method. This API method is going to connect with the database ReactDB. It is going to read all the records from TBL users and return them to the client. Test up to this first, right? Let's see. Up to this we will test. Now API is ready. Then API have to start. This API have to start. That means we have to host it on server and it should start. Then we have to use the method app. App is ready. App.listen. So listen on which port number? You have to define the port number. We will give this as port number 4000. You can give any port number. I will give some 8080 or I will give some 4000 because already in 3000 port number React application will be running. I will use a 4000 port number and I will just put a message console.log server started. Server started. And what is its address? HTTP 127.0.0.1:4000 is the port number. So server is listening on this port number. You make a request, then it will send a response. But in the server, only one request is designed. That means we created an API. That API can handle only one request as of now. What is that request? Get users. This is only the request it can manage. So we created a simple request. As of now, we don't need cars, body parsing. This is you are posting the data. While reading the data, you don't need this here. By default, it will work, no problem. So what we will do now? We will start this program and see. Let's run this API. To run the API, you have to go to the location where you saved this JS file. I will right click and open in integrated terminal here. So this is the location where we have that file. Here we have to compile node api.js. Then it says here server started. Server started. That means it is listening on this port number. Let's make a request and see. Because it is a GET request, you can directly test on browser. But post, put, delete like request, we cannot test on browser. Generally, in real world development for testing APIs, we use some API debuggers. Like we have Fiddler, am I right? Fiddler is one popular, like Postman, like Swagger. All these comes under debuggers. These are very popular debuggers known to web developers across the world who are working with APIs, right? You can download these because you can test only GET requests in browser. Post, put, delete and other requests you have to test using these debuggers. So you can test on browser as of now. See, http://127. You can write that as localhost. Localhost IP address is that 127 and all like this 127.0.0.1: the port number is 4000 and slash. In that we have a method. What is it? Get users. It will get that users and display. Only one user details are there. So our API is perfectly working. So we connected with the database, fetching the data from the database and returning to the client. So this is a API that we created locally, right? Now this API you can test on any debugging tool you download. Like I have Postman in my PC. This is a debugger. You can try this debugger. This is Postman debugger. And let's test our API here. So let's test the API. I will select a new request here. And here we will request http colon double slash localhost 4000 slash get users and click on send, and it will send the request and see data is coming fine. That means we are testing on this tool and we are verifying whether it is working fine or not. So get request is ready. Get request is ready. Okay, let's stop this and let's create another method for posting the data. That means how we can register user. That means in new users information we have to collect and insert into the database. Then how do we manage that? So here I am adding one more method. What is it? App dot this time post. What is the post method name? Slash register user. That is the post method name. And two objects, request and response. Now comes important point here is, now from where you will collect the data. That means post is expecting data. From where you will send the data? We will send the data from a HTML form. From a HTML form in the front end, we will send the data. Now, you already learned in HTML that so form can have method, two methods. One is get, another one post. Can we submit data on get request? Can we submit data on get request? We can submit, but it has some issues. So you cannot say that we cannot submit, right? We can submit data on get request. If you submit data on get request, so many problems, like data will be in query string. Data will be in query string. Data can be stored in browser logs, means browser history. You can bookmark the data, and it is not safe. It is not safe. And very important, we have limit for data. And you cannot submit complex data. Complex means like binary type of data. But one advantage is there. If these are all the problems, why they have given a facility to submit on get? If get is not safe, then why they given a facility to submit on get? They should block this, right? A web application is allowing to submit on get. That means there might be some use for that. What is that? What is the use of submitting data on get? If there is no use, they must block this because it's not safe. If they have allowed this, they are allowing this, that means there must be some use. The use is it can cache the data. Get can cache the data. What is the advantage of caching the data? So you can use the data across multiple requests, but it is not safe. But you can cache the data. It will save round trips. Caching the data will save round trips. If data is submitted on post, where the data will be? If data is submitted on post, where the data will be? One technical term is there. data will be in form body. On get request, data will be in query string. On post request, data will be in form body. What is form body? Actually, form body is a key value collection. Form body is a key value collection. What is the key and what is the value? Element name is key and its value is value, right? How to collect the data from form when submitted? Then what we do here, so we will first collect the user details. Understood? User details is an object. This object contains what are the details we have to post. The details we have to post are these. Means what database is expecting, you have to define. What database is expecting? User ID, username, password, age, mobile, subscribed, right? So we will write here user ID. From where to collect this data? And who will collect this data? This is done by request object. That means what request object will collect the data from body. Am I right? Form body. From body. That means from the form body, we collect the data. What is the key? Form body is a key value collection. Element name will be user ID. We give the same name. It will be user ID. So form body is a key value collection. With this key, we will design a form. Later, we will design a form, right? Next, another one is user name. Request dot body dot user name. Next, we have password. Request dot body dot password. What else? We have age, right? Age. But anything you submit from a form, HTML form, is a string. Everything. That means from a drop down or from a text box, from a numeric box, anywhere you submit anything you submit from a form is string. Then we have to parse int, convert request dot body dot age into number. Am I right? It is compulsory. Otherwise, it will be stored as a string. Okay, what is next? Mobile. Mobile is a string type. Request dot body dot mobile. It is a string type, so I will use simple because it will have plus 9, 1, some 10 digit, a regular expression like we will use. Another one, subscribed. Okay, subscribed. Okay, subscribed is a Boolean type. Now, anything you send as true or false from a form, it will come as string true. How to convert a string true into Boolean? How to convert a string into Boolean? There is no parsing method for that. There is no parsing method for that. We have to implement a simple trick here. What is the trick is, I will use a ternary operator. Here I will write if request dot body dot what is it, subscribed is equal to true. Understood? True is a string. Then it will put true. Otherwise false. Otherwise it will directly store true word as a string, not as Boolean. And we don't have any Boolean conversions. We have to implement like this. Otherwise, you will store wrong data, right? This is the details. So we have to collect the details. Okay. After collecting, we have to insert the details into database. Then we have to use again Mongo client dot what? Connect with whom? Connection string, and it will use an error and then client object. So what we will do now? So here we have to define another. What is it? So if there is no error, what to do? If there is no error, so create database. So by using client object DB method, access the database. What is it? React DB. After accessing, Database will use collection. What is the collection name? TBL users. Into that we need to insert a record. Dot insert one. Insert one. And what is the data to insert? The data is whatever user details you collected. Am I right? That means we have to pass that user details. And it uses a callback function which will return error and it will return result. That means if there is no error, so what you have to do? If there is no error, simply display a message console.log saying that record inserted. Not only that, what you can do is after showing that record inserted, you can use response.redirect. That means you can redirect to any specific request. Like what is that URL? You can redirect to specific URL. Right? URL is nothing but get users. You can redirect to get users. Again, it will navigate to that location. So that is how we can configure, right? Redirection can happen. But this redirection you cannot see now, right? Because you are testing from only debugging tool. So this redirection you can see when you are integrating with front end, right? So this is the basic point. So let's see here what we have to test. We need to test this post method also. So after making the changes, compile this again. Node API.js. It is working fine. Okay. Now we will face problem in inserting. Why we will face problem in inserting? Because whatever data we post from form body, it is unable to understand that data. Because it comes in a key value collection. That key value collection is not directly understandable to our server. Then we have to convert that into JSON. We need a body parser. Now Express have to collect the data from the form and it should convert the data into JSON. Otherwise it cannot insert. So conversion is very much important. So for that we have to do so many things. So what we have to do here, if you are testing post method, so first step, enable cross origin. Because generally when you are posting, you will come across with an issue called request forgery. You know this, huh? Request forgery. Yesterday I told you, last session I told you cross-site scripting attack. There is request forgery. Request forgery means what? What is request forgery? It is very big issue in web applications actually. What is that issue? What is request forgery? Request forgery is nothing but technically allowing any another application to post data into our application. That means only our application should be able to post. It should not allow to make a forgery. That means another application cannot make a forgery of our request and post data from their application into ours. This is called request forgery. Right? We have to prevent request forgeries and all. Such things we can manage using the courses, right? Course option, cross origin. So our Express have to use that course. So we have to write app.use. Use which one? Course. This will enable all the course requests. Allow to post, allow to fetch, allow to put, delete. It will allow everything. Okay. One more. Whatever data comes from client side, we have to convert that into JSON. For that, actually, app have to use express.url encoded. We have to set extended to true. This indicates that whatever data is passed from cross origin, that means from any another URL location, that is allowed to convert. Encoding, decoding, right? We have encode and decode. So that means it will allow to translate. But into which format it should be translated, we have to tell that. That means app.use express.json. That means it will convert that coming data into JSON. So express is now allowed to read the data and convert the data into JSON. Whatever data you post from client, that will be now converted into JSON. If you don't do this, then post cannot happen. If you don't do this, then post cannot happen. So you have to enable this. You have to actually, in older versions, this work is done by a body parser. You see this express URL encoded, it is using body parser internal. Earlier we have to use a separate body parser library. Even today you will see in older projects still people using this body parser because their express version is lower. Latest express versions will support body parsers, so we can directly use a body parser. Now your API is ready to accept the data. Okay, let's save this. Let's compile this again. So it is ready. Now let's post. You cannot post from browser. You can post only from this tool. Browser means you need a form and everything, right? As of now, here you have to select what is the method. Method is what? Post. What is the URL? So URL is what? Register user. That is the URL. Now register is user is expecting some user details that you have to pass. That means you go to, after selecting this, you go to this body tab. While go to the body tab, you see there is form data and form URL encoded. I will select this form URL encoded. Now here we need to send the data. It is expecting key and value. So we will pass the key. What is it? User ID. Already there is one user called John NIT. I will create a user ID with value as David underscore some 11 or underscore 2022. That is option. What is user name? Username I will give as David. Okay. What is the password? Password is suppose David. Here I defined password as David @123. That is the password. What else? Age. Age I am defining as 24. Okay. What else? Mobile. I am giving mobile. And mobile here I am defining some +918876543210, something like this. And here another details is subscribed, right? Subscribed is true or false. I will keep as some false, like this. Now I will click on send button. I click on the send button. After entering these details, I click on the send button, and you can see here, after I click on send button, you can observe here it shows record inserted, and you check in the database. So in the database here, let's refresh and see one more record is added here, and make sure that all the records data type is correct. Sometimes if you don't use parsing techniques, this false will be in double quotes, means string. It should not be in that, right? It will be in string. It should not be that. So we need to use the correct parsing techniques for that. Now your get and post methods are working fine. Now you have API ready, and the API is handling both the requests here. Now we have to design a UI for this in our React. user interface. In that user interface, we will create a registration form and we will create a login. From registration form, user can insert. From login form, they can read and verify the credentials and go to the next step. So we need to create a simple register and login interface with third party API libraries. We learned fetch. We will see the other third parties, how to use jQuery, how to use Axios like third parties, so that we can communicate with the API. So this is all the code in you have to write all this code, create Node.js program, right? And that is some API.js. And this is the code. After that, we have to compile node API.js. And two requests are there. HTTP localhost. One is 4000 / what? Get users. This is get method. Am I right? Another we have HTTP :/ localhost 4000 and register user. This is post. These are the two options ready. These two APIs are ready. Now we have to interact with them. That means now we have to create. So client side React. So that means we have to consume and use it. This actually makes a MERN stack example. MERN stack example. MongoDB is database, Express is middleware, React is client side, Node.js is server side. That is a MERN example actually, right? Now client side, how to create a React application to communicate with this API. That we'll see in next session. Tomorrow we'll do that. First you need to try this. Then tomorrow we can see how end-to-end complete scenario works. That means from the form to backend database, everything works now. That we'll see in the next session. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue.